When people land on your Instagram profile, are they following you? If not, the problem could be your feed. So, today we're going to talk about how to create an Instagram feed that people want to follow so you can turn profile visitors into followers. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're new to our channel, we are High Season, a social media agency that helps business owners, entrepreneurs, and marketers step their social media game up and break the algorithm. Today we are talking about your Instagram profile feed and whether it's doing what it needs to do, which is attract and convert new followers. Now, this video is not to intimidate anyone. We're not talking about this picture perfect, overly curated feed. We're talking about a feed that looks like you're about your business and that you are professional and letting people know that you're serious so that when someone lands on your page, they can see like, okay, this person's about their business. There's somebody worth following who probably also know what they're talking about. We know when we see feeds and we're like, oh, okay, like who's running this, or like, you know the telltale signs, low quality photography, low quality graphics, all the
mismatched colors, low res images,
tons of flyers or something, like lots of like aggressive graphics. Like when you go to that you're not inclined to follow, it doesn't make you want to see what the person's talking about. So you could actually be deterring people away if your content isn't on point, if your feed doesn't look on point. And there are a lot of people who have put our tips into practice in terms of getting Instagram profile visitors, and they're like, oh, my Instagram profile visitors have gone up, but my followers haven't. And then you go to their feed, and it's because the feed doesn't look fantastic. So actually, we do have a video that would be really good for anyone who's watching this video if you haven't yet. It's about how to increase your Instagram profile visitors. And now we're looking at, okay, now we've brought these people over, how do we convert them into followers so they stick around for more content? So with all that in mind, we're gonna get into our tips for creating a Instagram feed that looks professional and on point. Let's get started.
The first tip for creating an Instagram feed that people want to follow is to begin with the end in mind. Just like with everything with social media and marketing and business in general, you're really creating all the things that you're doing for a specific end user, your target demographic. So you really need to make sure that the way you present your account, the types of images you use, the color schemes, the types of graphics, everything has to appeal to the person that you want to convert, whether that's into followers and obviously to clients or customers. Be clear on how you want them to feel when they come to your page and what actions you want them to take based on the emotions that your content is going to create in the individuals that you're bringing to the page. So for example, if you're a real estate agent that's looking to attract maybe a higher end clientele, you're going to want to have a bunch of very high resolution photos, really well framed. You're going to be wanting to use maybe not so many bright and various colors. You want to keep it to maybe a more muted color palette.
I love the color palettes with the real estate agents that are very muted.
Yes.
You know, when it's high-end, classy, and it
so
feels
like black
like,
and gold,
black and golds, black and silvers, black and whites, anything that feels like just high-end.
Yeah.
And I feel like black comes into play with that. I don't know, you think of Mercedes and things
That's
like
true.
that, right?
Yeah, so black, gold, silver, things like that, all regal kind of colors, but just makes sense. It all ties in. Everything has to tie in. It has to feel cohesive, and it has to make the ideal client feel something and want to take action and want to scroll through your feed and see what else you're talking about if they get drawn in by one post in particular, for example. Begin with the end in mind.
The next tip for creating an Instagram feed that people want to follow kind of follows what Craig was saying earlier, and that's selecting and incorporating consistent brand colors. So for example, if you think about the High Season feed, you'll notice that we're very much like black, white, and gray. We're kind of also like black, white, and gray in real life. Oh, you have red on today, so you're a bit more colorful.
It's more of a burgundy.
But usually we're all black. Oh, that's Merlot? A burgundy. That's a Merlot, actually. Okay. That's a Merlot. But you know, like in our life, we generally have like black and white, generally speaking. And then also if you look at our website is black, white, grays. This is consistent in our branding throughout our social platforms across everything. So it's always a consistent experience. So your feed should reflect your brand as a whole so that everything makes sense and ties in nicely. Whatever you decide on when it comes to these brand colors, make sure that's consistent across the board, and make sure it's something that you incorporate into your graphics and into your images as well. That is so key in creating something that looks and feels intentional.
Yes. The next tip to creating a feed on Instagram that people want to follow is to choose a theme and aesthetic. I feel like we've brought this up a bunch of times over the last couple of years because it's so important. Once you've chosen your brand colors and you've essentially established a logo in your website, you want that to filter through, like I was saying earlier, to your social media. So you want that to come through across all the posts, like Tiff was saying, whether it's how you dress or the locations that you use, anything like that. But it's more than just the colors. It's kind of like the vibe.
Yeah.
The whole vibe of the feed and the aesthetic as well.
For example, if you think about Later, so Later is very like bright, poppy colors, you know, so their entire feed is just super colorful.
I actually did a consult with the client recently, and she really liked pink was her brand color. So she had in her motivational quotes had some sort of element of pink in her images, whether it was her clothing, the background, like her makeup, all had just a little bit of pink, just like a touch, and that was sprinkled through all of the content and the content that she was planning. And I thought that was a really cool approach to keeping that consistency, and also in the logo, like everything about what she was doing had that pink color in it and had like maybe a soft, you know, that soft kind of warm, high quality in photography. So it felt cohesive, and that's really what you're trying to create. Like nothing can feel out of place with the vibe.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be strict. It's just that these give you parameters to work in to create that cohesiveness.
Yes.
And this is not exclusive to color. So we're talking about that because that's an easy visual cue, but it's also in the images that you're using and the vibe that they're giving up. So that's very, very key. So for example, if you were a camping brand, you're going to have like very much a nature outdoorsy feel, and that's how your photography is going to look. And maybe the colors you pull in are very green and black and natural colors. If you own a hotel on the West Coast or something like that, you're probably going to use a lot of that beachy type of light, airy feels, and maybe your colors are like blues a little bit more, pale yellows. Like that's the type of vibe that you also create, and that's also comes to what we're going to talk about next, which in terms of like photo composition and the quality of the photography that you're using as well. And following that, the next way that you can create an Instagram feed that people want to follow is to use the same editing apps and edit pictures with the same filters. I love this. This is so key because really once you do it once you set up all your filters for different scenes, then you can just copy and paste, and it's just about setting up minor tweaks to make sure that everything looks good, because the same filter doesn't always apply easily to every single photo. Now this is so key to creating a gorgeous Instagram aesthetic. If you really want to go there and get a beautiful aesthetic going, the filters are so key in this. Some of the apps that I personally love using are Ecamm and Lightroom. Lightroom I use a lot. I've created all my presets in there, and then we paste them for client photos and for our own photos, our own projects, and they're all named and listed out specifically. And it's very high quality. They allow a lot of tweaking with Lightroom, and what we really think about as well is like not every setting is going to be the same, right? So creating a set of filters for each setting, so it's the same look, but there are tweaks based on if this is going to be an interior photo, is this an outdoor photo, this is what it's like when I'm in nature, this is what it's like if it's an outfit of the day against a blank wall, just keeping it consistent across the board. So editing with the same filter is so key to creating that cohesive aesthetic. Cannot recommend doing that more. It's also builds a process which you want to do. So I take my photos, I put them in here, paste my presets, tweak a little bit, and then I get to show them out to the world in that way.
Just had to quickly put glasses on, guys. It's getting a bit dark. My eyes were going a little funny, so
it's like if you wonder all of a sudden if
why it's like changed. Had to like just address that really quickly. It's kind of weird. But the next way to create an Instagram feed that people want to follow is to create high quality content. I feel like this is the one thing that we have nagged you guys to do over the years. It's something that's so important. If it's not high quality, people aren't going to come back. There's too much competition to not create high quality content. So what does that actually mean? So what we're talking about here is the aesthetic of your photos and all the images and the way you present them, but it's more than just that. It's about the technical side of things, and not something that you need to go and study in school, but just something to be aware of when you are creating your content. So something like the rule of thirds. So any image, whether it's horizontally or vertically, can be broken up into three, and you need to have different things happening in each of those thirds. You could look it up to get a more technical explanation, but the general idea is just, oh, if there's a face, keep the face in the middle third, for example.
Or you can always do them on
exactly,
the side.
You can do them.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But just something to be aware of, something like that. And then the resolution of the images. This is really the main sort of the easiest way to think about high quality. If you're using, I was just looking around what we had. I mean, obviously we got a new phone here that you can use because the actual camera is phenomenal. The camera we're using now is a high quality DSLR. That's a much larger ask because that's a larger price point. But everybody has a phone in their pocket. Most phones have a pretty reasonable camera these days. But the idea is you really want high quality, high resolution, meaning it doesn't have to necessarily be about megapixels. It could just be more of an intuitive thing. Like, is it blurry? Is it pixelated? Is everything sharp? Is the product or the human that I'm photographing primarily, are they in focus very clearly? All these sorts of things really need to be taken into consideration, because that's the one thing we see. Even for video as well, when you're exporting, export at HD. If it's 4K, go 4K. Don't do 720 or any of the other smaller sizes. Look at other brands as well. Look at your competitors, or at least the higher level ones, because they would not be caught using low resolution images. So you can see what it means. I guess it can maybe feel a little daunting to some folks who aren't super familiar with it, but it's quite intuitive as far as like, well, this looks good and this doesn't, and it's pretty obvious as to why. But really, overall, quality content, what that means is the whole entire substance and value of what you're creating. So are you giving people education? Are you entertaining? Are you making them think? Are you creating an emotion? Are you helping people in any sort of shape or form? Which is really the idea. It doesn't matter what kind of business you are. You can always give back and create value for your followers and for your audience. And that's really what you got to think of. It's the whole package. It just needs to be quality, because that's what's going to get people to follow you. At the end of the day, like I was saying, there's literally, what is it now on Instagram? There's over 1 billion at the very least. I think Facebook, the group overall, has like 3 or 4 billion people between their 3 platforms. But there's so many people on Instagram, and obviously within your niche, that means there's a high chance there's going to be thousands, tens of thousands, maybe millions of people in your own industry that you're competing with. So you do need to stand out. And one way is to just really focus on that high quality across the board.
Another tip for creating an Instagram feed that people want to follow is to visually plan your feed. So you can do this using various tools, but this involves uploading your content into a visual planner and arranging it in a way that is aesthetically pleasing, that kind of guides the eyes and leads the eyes. The worst is when you also get to a feed, we talk about the low quality content, but also when it just seems like overly busy and there's a lot going on and you can't just draw your eye to one thing. Usually that means the person is not using a visual planner to get a big overview of what everything looks like when you're putting it out. Some great visual planners are Unum, Planoly, Later we love, because not only can you visually plan it, you can also schedule out the content as well, see what's working. Check out our video, we talk about Later in full there, and it'll be in the description box below. But we love Later for that reason. We also have a code in our description. You're about to say that? A code in our description so you can try Later for free for 30 days.
Yes.
Some things you want to think about though when you're visually planning your feed is allowing the feed to breathe, allowing the posts that are beside each other. Don't place one busy photo beside another busy photo. Put one that probably has a bit more negative space. Embrace negative space as well. That's what also gets you that really nice clean look. So if you do have a graphic beside a photo, for example, maybe don't do 2 graphics. Maybe do a graphic and an image, or make sure these graphics don't all look the same. You know, you just want to be really cognizant of how your entire feed looks and what that experience is going to be when someone lands there. So again, Unum, Planoly, Later, those are some big ones that we recommend. They are great tools for creating a visual feed that really entices people to hit follow.
And most importantly, when you're creating an Instagram feed that people will want to follow, you just got to test and have fun. At the end of the day, you're doing this. Yes, it's for business, because that's probably why you're watching this, but it's supposed to be fun. It's Instagram, it's social media, it's supposed to be social and just putting some cool creative stuff out into the world. And you don't really know how your audience is going to respond to anything unless you test it. So we always encourage testing. I feel like I say that all the time in the on the YouTube comments. People ask, I'm doing this and this, I followed your steps, but it's not working. And I'm like, well, you know, did you test these? Did you try this type of content, change this stuff? I feel like maybe people kind of get caught up in the way they do things a lot and kind of forget to test. So we really just want to reiterate that. Like, you can do different things. Like, you could post in blocks of 3s. I've been doing that for our craft beer podcast for 5 years now. Only posting 3 every single.
Probably should test something new.
Probably should, but I've kind of gone really far with it, and I'm like OCD about it, but I technically should. You're right. You could do something like color blocking, which I'm going to put the example up.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
From one of our clients that Tiffany color blocked that. I don't know, maybe you could speak to that more than I
Yeah,
could.
I just wanted to do something in order to signal that something different was happening. We do like fun color blocking when events are happening, for example.
Yeah.
Those are really fun as well. You could test having the same graphic going across, like, you know, in a little line going across a few images. It's just about trying new things, because that's how you're going to find out what's working.
Exactly. Just always continue to test.
Always be testing.
Always be testing. Let's just get it tattooed or something. Always be testing.
All right, guys, thank you so much for coming back to watch another video. We hope you feel confident to go out there and create a beautiful Instagram feed that people want to follow. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other videos from us. Follow us everywhere on social media at High Season Co, and you can check out our blog post at highseasonco.com. We will see you in the next video, guys.
Peace.